Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. I'm Sananda Jayaseelan and you're watching our Budget Edition special, doing a deep dive into different sectors all of this week. And today we are talking technology and the announcements and the impact of the Finance Minister's budget announcement as far as technology and AI is concerned for India's small businesses. We're also talking all things clean energy and energy of the future. Two experts joining us. Let me quickly introduce them. First up, Rajesh Nambiar, Chairman Managing Director, Cognizant India, also Executive Council of NASSCOM, Board Member, US-India Strategic Partnership Forum. Darshan Hiranandani, Chairman, ASSOCHAM National Council on Hydrocarbons, CEO and MD, H Energy Group of Companies.
Budget 2023 has promised numerous measures for the growth and development of MSMEs and entrepreneurship in the country.
Credit guarantee for MSMEs. Last year, I proposed revamping of the credit guarantee scheme for the MSMEs. I am happy to announce that the revamped scheme will take effect from 1st April 2023 through infusion of 9,000 crores in the corpus. This will enable additional collateral-free guaranteed credit of 2 lakh crores of rupees. Further, the cost of credit will be reduced by about 1%.
Today, we are joined by two industry experts who share their key takeaways and ideas in helping shape a new India.
Rajesh, Darshan, thank you so much for your time here on the 11th edition of the Leaders of Tomorrow LOT Budget Edition, decoding the budget but also talking about the impact that India's small businesses are going to see going forward. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having us here, Sananda.
Thank you.
My first question is to you, Rajesh, and I want to quote something that the Finance Minister said during her speech. While saying that this is the first budget under Amrit Kaal, she said that this includes a technology-driven and knowledge-based economy. And my question to you really is that we heard so much of conversation and so many times the word technology and digital really being repeated by the Finance Minister. And do you think that sort of sets the tone for what we're going to see for small businesses, for the economy, when it comes to the use of technology and AI and digital in everyday lives?
Oh, absolutely, Sunanda. Look, first of all, the budget itself, as you have seen, it's a big push for continuity of the policy of growth, right? That's what we are seeing it. Increased capital expenditure, you saw that, about 33% more, 10 lakh crores or so overall. And then there are a lot of push around ease of doing business. And then you saw that, broadly investment in technology, R&D, etc. So there is a technology undertone in everything which the minister was doing today, right? So if you really see, if you go back and look at what the focus around broadly the India stack, I think it's a huge opportunity. When we look at, for example, she quoted the DigiLocker, for example. That's one of the a few things around the tech stack. Apart from of course the UPI, the payment system, etc. So that's going to be heavily focused on. She did mention about the fact that there's going to enhance the DigiLocker not just for the individuals but also for small and medium businesses and for large businesses, etc. So that's one element of it. But when you look at the focus around AI, she did announce the 3 COEs that it got announced today as well. It's going to be focused on artificial intelligence, and honestly, I think this is an era. I mean, you're going to see that in the next few years, AI is really going to be mainstream, and I'm sure that people talk about ChatGPT and whatnot. But this is an era, and I think India has the unique advantage with the capabilities, with the skill set that we have in the country, I think we're going to see a huge push on all of that as we move forward into the next couple of years.
Sure. So, Darshan, I will come and talk to you about the role of technology and AI, like Rajesh was just mentioning, when it comes to real estate and when it comes to, different areas and sectors of the economy. But first and foremost, I do want to ask you about your initial comments on the budget being friendly when it comes to India's small businesses and entrepreneurs. Do you feel that enough was perhaps said and done in the budget for India's small businesses?
So yeah, let me first give you my overall thoughts. My overall thoughts are the government has continued to do a lot through the year. So PLI and a lot of big bang announcements have happened through the year, and they've continued to work on some of the announcements they've made in the previous years. So I think it's not just about making announcements, it's about implementation. And I think the government has done a lot of that. And I applaud the finance minister that she's continued on the theme. The biggest thing businesses want, whether you're small or you're big, is consistency. And consistency has been given. So I think that's the first and primary important thing. I think the second situation that we have also, as far as small businesses are concerned, I think Rajesh did speak about the digital stack. Finance minister spoke about how they're going to make it easy to make submissions. Like you don't have to keep submitting the same details to all different agencies. So that will make life and compliance burdens a little easier. I do hope that future budgets are only votes on accounts, and all announcements are actually continue and improvements continue to happen through the year, because otherwise it seems like we have only one important day and 364 wasted days. But I'm glad to say this is not what this government has done. As far as MSMEs are concerned, I think ease has happened. The improvement has happened in various areas, and India has been a shining spark. But I think two areas where we had asked for a little more, which we didn't get. First is we had asked for some reduction in the dividend distribution tax. So we had said the dividend distribution tax being treated as other income for our small entrepreneurs was heavily burdensome. And we had requested a rationalization between people having a company, having a LLP, and having a sole proprietorship, because all the tax rates are quite difficult and different. But I think barring that, I would give the finance minister multiple thumbs up on the budget in general, because she remained consistent, and that was most important.
Absolutely, and that's a word that we've heard from most of our experts here as part of our budget programming. Consistency really is the word. Another word that we've heard is the one of growth. The FM herself, of course, saying that India is an economy moving from the 10th to the 5th position, that we are well on the path of growth. And this question is to both of you. Darshan, maybe I could ask you first. You're saying consistent. Would you also say that we're well on the path of growth? The G20 presidency putting us on that international and global stage, but of course being propelled by the changes we're seeing in different sectors?
Yeah, you see, I'm not a macroeconomist, but I can look around and tell you some of our own stories. So we have an industrial parks business, which we have in joint venture with Blackstone. It's called Greenbase. And over the last 2 years, phenomenal success in providing space to industrials. So we've provided brand new factories to some of the major wind companies in the world. As part of that, the ancillary units have come up in big numbers. So what you're suddenly seeing is that the talk about China plus one and India being a big share of that is happening on the ground. And this has a knock-on effect for all suppliers and goes back to MSMEs and goes back to real demand and manufacturing also starting. So I think that's part one. And I think the part two of that story is India is getting more, at least even if we're not getting enough numbers in skilling that we want, we're talking a lot about skilling, which means stuff will reflect on the ground. Today, I don't think there's an employment problem in India. There's an employability for people who can't get employment. And I think skilling will fill that gap in a big way. So government continues to push that. We all push that, but the numbers need to be far greater, and that'll have a huge impact on our productivity.
Couldn't agree more, Darshan. Rajesh, if you could hear what Darshan was saying, and I just want to add one point to that. He was talking about skilling. Couldn't stress that. I personally can't stress that enough. The government announcing 30 Skill India international centers across different states, and also announcing a deeper focus when it comes to research and skilling, particularly in the medical and tech space. So, commenting on the tech space, are you excited to see that, and you feel that that shortfall and that gap which has been felt by the industry for many, many years will finally perhaps get fixed?
Oh, absolutely, Sunanda. I think I was able to hear Darshan as well. As he was saying, broadly, if you look at the budget today, I think it was in 3 different areas. Right? First one was around digital transformation. We talked about talent. We talked about all the COEs that we just mentioned, etc. And then how the India stack, etc., has evolved over a period of time. The second major focus was around the energy transformation. So that was a separate category. And then you saw that a lot of initiatives which are getting rolled out were all about green energy and whatnot. The third was around supply chain resilience. How do you really bring in the resilience, whether it is the 5G enablement of the telecom structure, broad telecom infrastructure, and the ability for us to do the 5G, or whether it is the artificial intelligence and all of that. So that's number one. And you talked about the skilling element broadly. So if you see, and the 30 institutions that you mentioned, as well as there are some 100 labs being set up in, I heard the number, and we'll have to get into the details more, but this whole thing about this setting up of these 5G labs across 100 institutions, that's going to be a big element of how that will be enabled. There's going to be, of course, focus on not just around the tech side alone, but also, as you said, the healthcare, the nursing. There are 150 plus nursing colleges being set up, etc., which is again from the budget. But if you go back to the tech skills itself, as you know that there's something called Future Skills Program, which has been set up both by the government and by NASSCOM together, and that's actually doing extremely good work around enabling or skilling India for the future, if you may. So that's actually a very, very powerful program. There's also a Unified Skills India platform which has been declared. So that's again very focused around what we need to do around skilling. But what we are excited about is, as you mentioned, this together with what we talked about, the AI and cloud focus that the government has got now suddenly into saying that this is going to be the future of India. It's not just about make AI in India, but it's also make AI for India. So that's a big difference, right? So I think we as a country can benefit a lot from having the right capability and the right development around artificial intelligence, which is finally, I think it's going to see the light of the day, and we're all excited in the tech world in looking forward to that.
I'll have to take a quick commercial break on that note, gentlemen, but we are back in just a moment. You're continuing to watch the LOT Budget Edition. Back in just a moment. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. We're continuing our coverage as far as the budget edition here is concerned on ET Now. Moving slightly away, strictly from the tech space, Rajesh, if you could comment on the 100 5G app labs that the FM has announced, and really talk to our entrepreneurs about that big idea that you see when it comes to the field of telecommunication or just 5G, the opportunities which are going to open up for them.
Truly, I think it's you see a lot of applications. Today 5G is more fancy thing, and I think the whole idea of setting up these labs in these institutions will be to make sure that we are actually going after the right use cases. Can you have a use case which touches the farmer? How do you make sure that you are doing ability for us to do better farming by using 5G, if you may, right? So the core idea of 5G here would be reduction of latency and ability for us to sort of get these things done in real time. Whether it is in healthcare, for example, can we really go into the rural India? Not just what you do in terms of, watching a video faster or whatever, playing a game, which is fine. But I think the real use cases will start emerging once we start getting into the real India, the rural India, if you may. I believe that there is going to be a phenomenal amount of use cases that you can find, and the whole idea of these 100 labs will be to sort of explore those use cases, build it, as I said, AI for India. And AI, for the real AI to get to the common man, you do need the 5G. So 5G becomes a vehicle in many ways, and that's why I believe that the ability for all of these things to come together, I think that is what is going to make it even more interesting. Not just one technology on its own. I mean, 5G on its own will not make much of a difference, but 5G combined with machine learning and artificial intelligence is going to make the biggest difference for us in India.
Sure. Darshan, I would love for you to also comment on the announcement as far as housing loans are concerned. Part really of the government's Housing for All scheme or program, really, if I can call it that. How are you reading that? Is this going to push more demand for your sector?
Sananda, I think Housing for All is a scheme that has really done well. And the good part is that government has not lost its eye on the ball. Given that it's an election year, I think they've doubled down on it, increased it, and I think that remains important. So I think, and it all goes in stages. First, we need to get a roof on people's heads. Then we need to give them cooling equity. So we need to make sure that they can live in good conditions. Then we need to make sure that we can give them great hygiene. We can give them data. We can give them jobs. We can give them skilling. So these are all building blocks that are very important for the social fabric of the country. So I'm very happy about that. The second part that I want to talk about is, just two or three different elements. The other bit I was pleased about was India's focus on renewable energy. And I want to talk about it in a slightly different way. The good part is the government is really broad basing its approach. It's not about saying, hey, only hydrogen is of our future. Only solar is our future. Only gas is our future. Only nuclear is our future. Only ethanol is our future. I found it amazing that India is a country where we're focused. We've got what we've got in coal. We've got what we've got in diesel. We've got what we've got, but we're focusing on gas. We're focusing on green hydrogen. We're focusing on solar, on wind, on pump storage hydro, on nuclear, on ethanol. I mean, the ethanol blending program is a smashing success, and government has continued to push that, saved our foreign exchange, continued to improve farming incomes, improved balance sheets of sugar companies. Now it will do it for other grain companies. And now we're trying to follow the Brazil model. Brazil today is doing almost over 50% ethanol blending. The opportunities across the sector will be huge. Waste to ethanol, waste to methane. Finance minister said, hey, blended CNG will come out of or will not have any GST charges to it. So overall, the whole roadmap, so we're not going down the crazy way of Sri Lanka, which suddenly woke up one morning and said, we're only going to do organic fertilizer and kill the economy. What we're doing is actually creating building blocks for every little experiment and continue to say, hey, ethanol did well, let's increase that. Solar's done well, let's increase that. Something else needs a change in tack, let's take that forward. So it's a very sensible way to move forward. And this diversification will take India very, very far.
One piece of advice that you'd have for our entrepreneurs, the overarching theme that we have on the Leaders of Tomorrow is ideas for new India. And we are talking about sectors, energy, real estate, technology, AI, that are really those ideas for a new India and represent new India. From there, if you could pick one theme that you want to leave our entrepreneurs with, Rajesh, if I can come to you, what would you want to say?
I think for entrepreneurs in technology, it's very, very simple. I think, as you rightly mentioned, and we talked about it a lot in this show, I think it'll all boil down to, are you really making a difference for the broader India? I mean, if you really want to do anything for India, tech for India, for instance, it has to reach the common man. So it is not about the technology for the top 1% of India. I think the ability for the tech startups, or whether it is the SME segment, anybody who's going to be doing anything in technology, they have to look at the scale that we have in India, which is what is a huge advantage that we have in India today. So it's all about skilling, and we talked about skilling. How do you really do this in scale? that's going to not just make them successful in the Indian market, but it's also going to take them global, right? So that's what we've been focused on as a company. I think we personally focused on making sure that we have a broad-based skilling program which has a broader reach than just what we do in the company. But it's also about the entrepreneurs and the SME segment that you mentioned. If they focus on these two things, doing it in scale, making sure that they're able to reach to the broader population of India, at the same time ensuring that they're able to skill with the right capabilities for their employee population. I think that will take it.
Sure. Darshan?
Well, I would tell entrepreneurs that be hopeful, because it's a very exciting time. Indian GDP per person is going to double. Whether it doubles in 5 years, 10 years, somewhere in between, it is going to double. And that brings with it enormous need and enormous opportunity. So I would tell the entrepreneurs that it is a super exciting time to be building in India. And moving from $2,500 per capita to $5,000 per capita is one of the most exciting phases of change for any economy. So just like I'm excited, they should be excited as well.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time here with us on the Leaders of Tomorrow Budget Edition on ET Now. A deep dive into different sectors and hearing from experts like the ones that we've had joining us today. Darshan, Rajesh, appreciate your time once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us here.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. That's all we could manage to pack in. If you have any feedback for us, for those of you watching at home, our contact details on your screens as we speak. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.